Welcome to the Paul Harrell program. Thanks so much for being with us. We got a great show for you. Oh, sorry, Eric. I got your volume way too up, way too loud. And when I came on, Eric now has to go to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. Emphasis on the ear. We got a great show for you. We're going to be talking about St. Patrick's Day. First of all, it is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We're going to give you a little history on that, how the gospel transformed a people group in one of the most unlikely places. Also going to talk about Joe Kent, Joe Kent working for Tulsi Gabbard no longer because he resigned over conscience and over what's going on in Iran. We'll talk about that in the fallout from the Republican coalition that is still at war with one another over war, interestingly enough. And the SAVE Act. Right now they're in the Senate debating it. To me, I believe this is going to work out the way it always has, and that's GOP SAVE Act sabotage. That's what's really going on. I don't think they want secure elections because I think they know it'll actually hurt Republicans in the long run and help grassroots conservatives. Just my opinion. We'll talk about it. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks. Welcome to the show. As always, joined by my co-host. We got Rob Spencer. Rob.
It's an honor to be in here for the St. Patrick's Day. I wore my shirt. Yeah. I had some people look at it and they're like, "Oh, that's a cool shirt," or whatever. They didn't read it. So if you didn't know,
you need to go a little bit to your right so they can see, or move the microphone just so they can see. You can't.
Whatever.
All right.
How about this? It says Pat McCrotch, Irish pub. I'm very mature today.
Very mature today, Eric.
Glad to be
go
in
ahead.
the studio.
All right, Eric. How are your eardrums, brother?
Huh? It's great to be part of the conversation.
Yes, and we are broadcasting, just reminding everybody, live from the great state of Arkansas. And wherever you're watching, we're broadcasting on LFA TV. Hello, chat. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We're going to talk a little bit about St. Patrick's Day first. I mean, a lot of people think it's just a time to, wear joke shirts or drink a pint of Guinness.
I'm not a Guinness person.
You're not a Guinness person, huh?
I like my what's the criticism of light beer? They say, "Oh, well, that's like having sex in a canoe." You never heard that expression?
Hold on, I'm waiting for it.
Here's the punchline.
Yeah, here it comes.
There's a
comes.
punchline. Okay.
It's too close to water.
Okay. All right.
You're welcome. You can use that. You can use that, folks. You can use that one.
Okay, so St. Patrick's Day. So I always, anytime I am privileged to do a show, the last couple of years, I try to talk about St. Patrick's Day. Now, I'm not wearing green like Rob is. I'm wearing Protestant orange.
Gonna get pinched.
I got green socks on.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Well, we'll take your word for it.
Liar.
We'll take your word for it. But I'm going to start by this Jamie Bambrick. I think he is himself an Irishman. And he actually has this really interesting prayer he put out, I guess, 2 years ago now. And I've started every show I can with it because it's really powerful. And we may not play the whole thing, but it actually is really good. Matter of fact, I'll just encourage you guys to go listen to this yourself. It's a 1,500-year-old prayer. It's arguably the greatest in all of church history outside of the Bible itself, he writes. As it is St. Patrick's weekend, and he was the one who wrote it, why not exalt the glory of God and trample on all manner of wickedness with this daily confession? And it's really good. It's got some great. It's basically about arising today in Christ. Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ to my left, Christ to my right, Christ above me. It's a really powerful prayer. But specifically, Jamie Bambrick also has a really good history of what exactly St. Patrick's Day is and how St. Patrick's Day is about a guy who was a slave who gets free, goes back to the land of his slavery, and starts to evangelize and starts to preach the gospel. And we're not going to play this whole thing, but I want you guys to listen just to a little bit of this. It's because, then we're going to move on to the news after that.
Ireland would probably have been the last place you looked. It was remote, dark, dangerous, and, for good or ill, almost completely isolated. The sacking of Rome, the descent of Pax Romana into lawlessness, the destruction of centuries of learning, the precarious future of a church that had only recently been established, the ripple effects of these major events barely reached these shores. Not that that made things better, like, at all. Ireland simply remained what it had been for centuries, the nightmarish home of bloodthirsty Druids, the servants of demon gods who revelled in human sacrifice.
Well, let's put it this way. The three most powerful gods in the Celtic pantheon, each of these required human sacrifices. Tyrannus, most famously, Julius Caesar talks about how prisoners of war were burned alive in wicker cages. That was the Tyrannus.
All right, so next up, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. So the story goes, it's an incredible, Patrick shows this incredible amount of bravery. He goes in, he evangelizes the country, they respond, and then years and years and years later, okay, you would think that's just where the story ends. You know, have your pint of Guinness and move on. But it didn't end there, and I'm going to make a point with all of this. There's a reason I'm saying this. Just listen to this.
Safe haven outside of the mainstream. This new, completely unexpected place became totally Christianized almost overnight. Now, most people end the story there. Ireland is saved, 3 cheers, pint of Guinness, hooray, right? But that's only half the story. See, the other half is that it's from this place, which is still a remote, obscure island on the edge of things, that Christianity, and with it Western civilization, would launch something of a counterattack back into Europe. And that all starts with, well, those former Druids.
Basically, the Druids were the repository of all the knowledge of the culture. You had to know history, you had to know law, you had to know certainly religion, the legends and myths, the rituals. You had to learn magic. You had to learn how to use your voice to imitate all kinds of natural sounds, ranging from thunder to bird calls. You had to learn poetry, you know, on and on and on. You were the one who held the entire culture in your mind because they didn't write anything down.
So this sort of intellectual and spiritual devotion, this is what people expected of their religious leaders, which in this new Christianized world were the Irish monks. Irish monks operated completely differently to monks in the rest of the world. They were not, as many other monks are, running away from things to seek a life of quiet contemplation and prayer. The Irish ones, they were pretty much the exact opposite. They were embedded in the clan system. They were involved in communities. They were often married. They were not under the control of the Roman Church. They sat very much outside it. And their monasteries, well, they were basically a mix of a church and a school and a university and a media centre and a business workshop.
So you see, when he says this was a key, like almost like when you hear that, I mean, it really does make you think this was a totality of the civilization. This was like the perfect, when he talks about the pagan Druids and how they were involved in everything, and now they're monks, and so they're still involved in every aspect of society. How effective that was at, not only propagating the gospel, but also essentially in making everything else better as well, making everything else Christianized. And that mentality also translates to the people that eventually sailed across the Atlantic and colonized the Americas, right? It is it's a fascinating situation. And the fact, and this video goes on, and we're not going to get into any more of it because it's 15 minutes long, but if you want to educate yourself on what this is, it is absolutely fantastic. And I say all that to say, on this day where I have my disappointments, I have my shock, I have, the world's not going the way I want it to. And I sit here and I think, well, you know what? That's true. But there is still a divine plan throughout all of this. And you look at history and you think, wow, you would have never picked this remote island to be a place that not only became Christianized, but then they eventually become so Christianized they send missionaries back into Europe to bring Europe back from lies. And
what they need, that's what they need right now.
that is, amen,
You know?
amen. And so just specifically with the Iran thing, not a fan of the Iran war, didn't want the Iran war. Maybe the main reason that I voted for President Trump is because I thought we wouldn't get involved in Iran, and I hope that the troops stay safe, and I hope we get out of there, accomplish whatever it is we need to accomplish. The fact is, it is happening, and you know what? You never know what could happen because of this. There are millions of Christians in Iran. Now, a lot of times these Middle East wars end up getting Christians killed, in large number, by the way. Let's pray that that doesn't happen. But you never know what could actually happen as a result of this, and a lot of times, you know, what the devil means for evil, God can turn around and mean it for good. So be optimistic, be a happy warrior, and let's go forth and take dominion. That's why I wanted to start the show the way we did.
Optimistic. I like it.
Cheer, cheer. Grab your Guinness.
That's right.
I'll see you at the pub, mate.
Hey, there's also
I mean, I won't, but
really interesting information about why the beer Guinness actually was created. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I read this somewhere, that the guy who created Guinness, I think he might have been a clergyman himself, and he did it because people were drinking too much whiskey, and it was having an effect on their health.
Something.
the Irish? No.
So instead, it's like, okay, well, try this beer instead. Yes, it's got alcohol, not as much alcohol, but it's actually got nutrients, and it's. Well, I mean, if you ever had a Guinness, it's like drinking a loaf of bread.
McGillicuddy?
Okay,
No.
can you change the paused screenshot of this guy?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Why don't we just?
singing.
He's singing an Irish,
Sorry.
an old folk song, eh?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. All right, we're good. Now we're on you, Rob. Full screen.
Listen,
say
I'll
what you
tell
want to
you
say.
this,
Singing
brother.
Shabuzi.
Say what you want to say.
Here's what I wanted to say. This is what I've been dying
Here we
to
go.
say all day
Here
long.
it goes.
Do you know how the Irish accent, why it sounds so different than English?
Because it's further forward in your mouth.
Further forward.
Okay. Is that really what you were going to say?
That's exactly what I was
Was
going to
it?
say. We went through
Really?
the same training. It's in the front of your mouth.
Yeah, it's further forward.
It's further forward.
No, I'm really bad at
You
Irish.
guys both
It's
sound
all-
like a couple of Conor McGregors in here.
Well, that's how they tell you if you want to. You got to think about where's it coming from? Is it in the front of your mouth, back of your mouth?
And there's two distinct like British accents. There's like the more royal British accent. Well, did you know that you would imagine?
Yes.
You know, whatever.
The bougie.
The
Okay.
bouginess, and then you got the cockney. You know, the result of
oh,
that.
crikey.
Yeah. No, that's Australian.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Bollocks.
Oh,
But anyway.
no. Oh, no.
All right.
All right,
That's-
who's drinking? Who's
Man.
drinking today?
Gotta
Let's
learn-
just go with that. one.
Learn something every day, and I just did.
All right, so here is the next story that we have for you guys, which is you cannot.
This is
all
a classic.
of that being said, you may not celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I don't think, unless you go back to this Alabama classic. Not
This
exactly
is like
what
2004,
Oh, yeah.
somewhere around in there.
where we all say Happy St. Patrick's Day, and also
You know-
who else see the leprechaun say yeah?
Listen, don't give away the punchlines. But
right.
I'll say this:
This is so good.
Some will say this is AI. This is not.
No.
This has been around for 20 years.
Yeah.
If you've not seen this, Let's
Well,
do
just
it.
in time for St. Patrick's Day, crowds are coming by the dozens to get an up-close view at what some say is a piece of Irish folklore.
Some people in the Crichton area of Mobile say a leprechaun.
Hang on a second.
I can't.
I can't even because they're taking it. It's
She's
like
choking
she's
on it.
trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
She's choking
and
on
I'm
it.
like, has she seen the report that's been filed on this? And I have to say, no, this lady has not seen
Just
it.
wait, honey.
She is just
It's about to
reading
get
a
real.
script.
Here it comes.
She
Here it
has
comes.
no idea what's about to happen.
A leprechaun is taking up residence in their neighborhood.
What?
A leprechaun.
In Mobile,
NBC 15's
Alabama.
Brian Johnson has more.
Curiosity leads to large crowds in Mobile's Crichton community. Many of you bring binoculars, camcorders, even camera phones to take pictures.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun say yeah?
Eyewitnesses say the leprechaun only comes out at night. If you shine a light in its direction, it suddenly disappears. This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the leprechaun looks like. Others find it hard to believe and have come up with their own theories and explanations for the image.
My theory is it's casting a shadow from the other limb.
Could be a crackhead. Could be a crackhead. Hold to the wrong stuff. And it told him to get up in a tree and play a leprechaun.
I'm gonna go down to the bottom of this.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, it's still on there, guy. Don't
Look
be
what he's
afraid.
wearing.
Look. Don't be afraid, man.
This guy helping to direct traffic says he's prepared for his encounter with the leprechaun. He's suited up from head to toe.
This wars off spells right here. This is a special leprechaun flute, which has been passed down from thousands of years ago from my great-great-grandfather who was Irish. I just came to help out.
Others just came to get lucky in hopes a pot of gold may be buried under this tree.
I'm going to run a backhoe and uproot that tree. I want to know where the gold is. I want the gold. Give me the gold. I want the gold.
This is Brian Johnson, NBC 15
Please tell me
News.
it cuts back to them.
People will do anything for a pot of gold. I mean, anything.
You know what I like? I like the amateur sketch of the leprechaun. It
Yeah,
looks like somebody got a really good look at it and got that good drawing out
Who
there.
did that? I want to know who sketched that.
More importantly, who asked it to be sketched? And it was it was the savvy reporter that was like, "Hey, could you draw what the leprechaun looks like?" Hey, give me a sketch, buddy.
It's got to be that dude with the leprechaun flute that's been passed.
Yeah, because his great-grandfather was Irish.
But it was passed down from thousands of generations ago
Yeah.
by his great-great-grandfather
who would have
was
been
Irish.
Who would have been a pagan druid,
Oh, my God.
by the way.
To me, it looked like a leprechaun to me.
Who else has seen a leprechaun say, yeah, yeah?
I'm going to run a backhoe up that. Oh,
Looks like a crackhead.
The lady in the car, yeah, she's the best. It could be a crackhead that got to hold to the wrong stuff.
My favorite one is the guy that's like, well, I actually think the light is reflecting. Like, you got somebody, and they're like, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about.
Let's get back to the guy that's dressed up for his encounter with the leprechaun.
That is solid gold, man. What TV station producer's like, oh, we're airing this. We're definitely putting this on the air on the 6 o'clock news.
That reporter was literally like, hey, this is the end of my career.
Yeah.
If you make me do this report, dang it.
The guys in the control room are just sitting back there like, oh, this is so gold. 20 years from now, there's going to be some guys in Arkansas that are going to be laughing about this.
How did they know? Yeah, that's the thing.
That's what they were thinking.
Internet was not what it is now. But
you know what?
It's forever.
What I remember from 20 years ago were the two big internet ones, which was the Alabama Leprechaun and then Sweet Brown. You guys remember Sweet Brown?
I don't.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Oh yeah,
Not
yeah.
me. I got bronchitis.
Yeah. That's Sweet Brown.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sweet Brown. She was like,
I always say like, oh Lordy, there's a fire.
yeah,
That's right.
Lord Jesus, there's a fire.
Yeah.
I just ran for my life. I didn't put on no shoes or nothing, Jesus.
Oh my God!
Hey, you've seen that one, right, Eric? You've seen that one. You've never seen that one?
Sweet Brown.
Well,
look it up, guys, if you ever want a good laugh.
When we
Sweet
have
Brown.
a holiday around that, we'll play it. But
yeah.
Anyway, St. Patrick's Day, folks. All right, now we're going to move on to the news at hand. Currently, right now, let me go ahead and let's just throw this up there. Let's see what is going on the floor of the United States Senate.
I'll give you the spoiler alert. It's a bunch of bull.
Yeah, a bunch of baloney. Who is this? Who is this lady? She's talking right now. Who is this? Some senator. Gonna go out on a limb here and say she's a Democrat.
Oh, she's the worst.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
This lady's the worst.
So they're in the debate. Now, the motion to proceed passed where Tom Tillis from North Carolina didn't even show up for the vote, by the way. And it passed 51 to 48.
She's the one that tried grilling Kash Patel. And
Okay.
Kash Patel
Failed.
lit her up.
Epically.
Mitch McConnell did vote for the procedural, maneuver to make it, to allow it to go forward, to bring it to debate. But they still got to have 60 votes. This whole thing is theater. This is it's just not
going to happen.
It's not going to
happen.
happen.
Be able to break cloture.
And it is the GOP Save Act sabotage. That is what's going on here, because last I checked, Murkowski and Collins and whoever, all of the holdouts, right? I mean, they're not wanting to do a filibuster because they don't really want voter ID. They don't want to end mail-in ballots. And I also think they don't, separately with all of this is the machines that need to be addressed as well, and we're going to get into that here in a minute. But this is how long do the American people put up with this stuff? How long do we allow the populist wing? This is not even a right-wing populist idea. This is just the entire country's idea.
I don't know that you could
refuse.
I don't know that you could poll any other issue in the United States where it would have this much agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Unless you were to say that, I really can't even think of anything. So and we've just gone back to, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now leading up to this. If they can't pass this, if you cannot get this through when you have all three chambers, and there is a mechanism in the Senate to allow you to break that cloture with the filibuster, this whole silent filibuster BS, it just pisses me off so much, because it's like Congress enacted that thinking, and I'm sure that there are times, I was told that there are multiple examples where Republicans used the filibuster to block a dangerous piece of legislation from the Democrats. But I just want to scream at John Thune: do not listen to that lying ass snake known as Chuck Schumer, because he, as soon as he becomes majority leader again, and if that happens, and as it's currently projected right now, the Democrats are going to take the Senate based off of these races. Now, we've got a long time going up to these midterms, but I say this: Schumer will do whatever he has to do to stop Trump's last 2 years in office. Okay? He was only restrained a little bit, in my opinion, because Trump was on the ballot again in 2020. So he's going to be restrained a little bit because, the Democrats, well, I guess they had it for the first 2 years of Biden, and then they lost the Senate. So they didn't need all of this stuff with the filibuster. But anyway, I'm rambling. I will say this: the Democrats are going to nuke the filibuster as soon as they take office. If you don't believe that, then you're the most naive person, and I've got a bridge to sell you.
Oh, you're exactly right. They're 100%. What do you think? You think they'll nuke it if the Democrats were to take the Senate, and you think they're going to nuke the filibuster, and they're going to stack the Supreme Court?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, they've said they will. I mean, unapologetically, which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what leg the Republicans are trying to stand on by saying that it's in their best interest not to. It doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah.
So, I mean, you come back to our previous point that we've made many times, and that is, I mean, there's a financial incentive. Now, is this Rick Scott?
Yeah, it's Rick Scott.
It is.
Who should have been Speaker.
No, actually, I don't think it is.
I mean, not Speaker.
No, I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm on the wrong. I'm on the wrong tab.
Majority leader. This is Patty Murray.
Yeah, Patty Murray. Rick Scott. I'm sorry. I had the old.
But whoever was on the TV video there from our screen,
he was before her.
Our viewers may not have been seeing that, but yeah,
I was trying to go to the chat and get some comments here.
Yeah.
To see what was up. All right, so let's go to here.
Oh, Clee is in the house.
Headline: we've got this. GOP prepares to continue their streak of disappointing their voters with the SAVE Act Kabuki Theater. I think this is great, and I think this is exactly right. And I pulled this because of the phrase Kabuki Theater, because that's exactly what this is. This is show. Mm-hmm. But to reiterate our predictions, my prediction is that this is going to fail. Trump will be able to say, "Hey, look, this is over." In terms of the congressional solution for this, they've sold out the American people. They won't do it, and so Trump will then hopefully use Tulsi Gabbard to expose all of the election fraud, and then he will create an executive order, which will be challenged to the courts, and we'll go that route. I think that's what's going to happen here.
Well, go ahead.
I know Eric has a different opinion. Eric says that maybe this is a under promise, over deliver. Mm-hmm. That could still happen, but I don't think it's going to. So.
Anna Paulina Luna came out today. I saw a video, and I really wish that I would have saved it so I could have sent it to you. We pull it for the show, but essentially what she's saying is that they are prepared for the Senate to not do what they need to do. And so they're going to not look at any Senate bills in the House until the Senate looks at the SAVE Act in the Senate. And more than just this BS crap. So they believe that it's going to fail, so they're talking about attaching the SAVE Act to something else. attach it to this thing that it's going to be really, really hard. But all that to say that we're kicking ourselves closer and closer and closer to the midterms, where it just seems extremely unlikely that even if it were passed, it would not be implemented in time for our midterms, which is, going to be a little too late at that point.
Yep. It's setting up for a there's got to be it's setting up for the only way it works out, electorally speaking, is if there is some sort of Deus ex machina moment, something that happens that shakes us out of our apathy, or something that is outside of the current realm of possibilities on the chessboard. Like that's the only way you're getting secure elections at this point, and I think that requires that's going to require a level of executive force that people aren't even considering may happen, and I don't actually think it will happen, but I hope it does. I certainly hope it does. Now, speaking of the executive branch, we move on now to this story that really just has eaten up my timeline all day today, and that has to do with Joe Kent. Joe Kent, up until this morning, was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, and he resigned from the Trump administration today. He did so in a letter that I am going to read for you now. President Trump, after much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. He says, I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. He goes on, I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term, until June of 2025. You understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation, he said. He goes on, in your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and that, should you strike now, there was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran, he writes, who deployed to combat 11 times and is a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further towards decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve in your administration and to serve our great nation. Joseph Kent, Director, National Counterterrorism Center. Now, I read the whole thing because it's in the news, and we're currently engaged in Iran, and this is the first. A lot of times you'll see this type of stuff happen. Where you will have officials resign kind of in protest, or they just don't think they can do the job anymore under the current circumstances. And this is the first one that we have seen, maybe the only one that we've seen. But the reaction to this has been swift, and what I mean by that is everybody. When I say everybody, I'm just speaking, in hyperbole there, but it's just been nuts. You either support Joe Kent and his decision, or you think Joe Kent was a spy who needed to be fired anyway, and he should have never been there in the first place, or he's a leaker, and just everything under the sun. And the reason is this is a sensitive time right now, okay? And I've said on this show a couple of times now, like there's a reason Nikki Haley wasn't the nominee. It's because, there's a sizable portion of the electorate, particularly young people, who didn't want to go to war in the Middle East again, right? Didn't even want to think about going to war in the Middle East again. And so there is this, and right now, to me, anything that goes against the narrative is met with very swift response. This could have just been handled like, okay, this man has a conscience. We don't want to bind his conscience. He can't do the job anymore. He thinks the administration's gone a different way. Okay. All right, go have a good life. And instead, this immediately goes to personal attacks. He's immediately now, according to some, Alan Dershowitz took to X and called him a Jew hater. Okay? Mark Levin is having a conniption fit. Laura Loomer is having a conniption fit. And matter of fact, all that really does is just make all of this much, much worse, in my opinion. So anyway, you guys feel free to weigh in.
All we have, I mean, we already have a divide in the conservative wing of the electorate here, essentially between those who want to do unequivocal support of Israel and others who believe that Israel uses us to maneuver to to help them to do their will and all of those things. I don't know which camp that I fully lie in there. I can tell you that I am anti-new wars to an extent that if there is intel that proves that a threat is imminent, and I'm not talking about weapons of mass destruction because that's what was...
You mean like a lie?
Yes.
As long as it's not a lie.
Correct. Right. As long as it's not a lie, and we have some sort of evidence here, then, I mean, and I would hope that comes out. But, if there's some reports out there that Iran was bragging, that... hey, we're going to have a nuke very, very soon here. But that in itself is, you can take that two ways. That is, they're bragging because they want attention, meaning if you're that close to a nuclear weapon, why do you tell someone?
Yeah.
If that's been your aspiration this whole time, why would you tell somebody? And then the other side of that coin is that they already had the capability to do it, and they're sending some sort of warning shot across the bow here. I don't really know what their play is. I mean, you want to try to get inside the minds of terrorists who want to commit, essentially murder against anybody from the West, and of course any Jew. But anyway, I'm just going to say that this is not a good look overall. This is not good. Whether
the infighting or the resignation.
The resignation. The infighting is not great either, but this just adds absolutely a can of gasoline to the fire.
Well, yeah, I would just say I don't even know if it's gasoline. All I would say is it's just an acknowledgement. It's a mainstream news report that this is a different direction. Okay, then a lot of people. Now, you can talk about how Trump has always said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, right? And he has. He's on record saying all of that. He's also out there on record saying, "Hey, vote for me. We're not going to have any new wars." So, this is just kind of this is a reminder that hey, this is a different direction than a large contingent of people thought we were going to go, and that's all it is. And we're already in war, and you know what I mean? But you have the infighting, which is like, no, one side is going to cannibalize, and anybody who's a dissenter. I mean, you had people at the beginning of the week talking about putting Tucker Carlson in jail, like and I'm like, man, we're not the same. Like, I'd rather put Mockingbird media journalists in jail that have lied to us for 20 years, not somebody who's trying to get an interview, like all journalists have done for forever with heads of state that.
There's a report.
Hostile.
Yeah, there was a report though that Tucker Carlson was invited to the White House and was given some information, and then it was opposite of what was going to happen. That's hard. That's really hard for me to believe.
And they came out, and the White House came out and said, no, there is no investigation. Now there may have been a referral, right? I mean, Tucker Carlson allegedly has the journalists calling him up, reading him his text messages. So somebody leaked. Which is exactly what they did to Trump, by the way. the intel agencies leak an investigation to the press, and then the press reports the investigation, and you're guilty before anything, before you even know what's going on. Eric, I'm sorry, I've been monopolizing the time. What are your thoughts on the Joe Kent resignation?
I think his resignation actually contradicts a lot of the things that he is on record as saying were true at the time. So that's a big red flag for me. I don't think his resignation has a big negative effect on President Trump. I just see immediately you can really easily and quickly see that it's like, well, you thought they were imminent before. You thought the attack was imminent before. And God bless your personal situation, I know, but your current wife is a Trump hater that works for an anti-Israel agency. So there's to that. And I'm not trying to throw trash, but that is a fact.
Well, let me.
And there are facts in mind.
Let me cover both sides of the story. To your point, people have already found this old tweet of Joe Kent's from September 25th of 2024. It was in response to Donald Trump saying that big threats on my life by Iran. The entire U.S. military is watching and waiting. Moves were already. Now, I've always been skeptical about this. A lot of the Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. I have been skeptical because that news broke right after the Butler shooting, where the Secret Service at least had their pants down, and it all seemed way too like, hey, look over here, let's distract. It wasn't our own government. It wasn't the Biden administration that told the Secret Service to stand down and not secure routes before it was sloped. Oh, it was Iran. They would they were trying to assassinate. I always thought that was just a little too convenient. But Joe Kent said this, quote, Iran has been after Trump since January of 2020 after he ordered the targeting killing of the terrorist Soleimani. This isn't a new threat. The Secret Service consistently failing to secure Trump is new. We need to figure out exactly why these failures keep happening. Okay, so that was Joe Kent then. So people have pointed to that, saying, hey, what changed? Did something change?
Here's one thing. I'm just going to look at it through this lens here, Paul. Donald Trump tweets this on September 24th. He tweets it on September 24th, 2024. Joe Kent gives his reply the next day, September 25th, 2024. Why in the world would Joe Kent not at least give Donald Trump, because he's supported him up till now, right? Why would he not have given him the benefit of the doubt to say that maybe Donald Trump has new intel about the threats that Iran is placing against him, i.e., is that golf course attempted assassination? Was that
that was more,
or how about the bullets flying past his head?
That was more closely tied to Ukraine. But to your point, we don't know. But I will say this: he's under DNI. I mean, to me.
But he wasn't then.
No, he wasn't then. Right.
I understand that Donald Trump was not the president then, but he does have Secret Service. He is getting briefings on things. And so Joe Kent is not in the circle of knowledge that Donald Trump was at the time of this, and he's already questioning him, which makes me wonder why in the hell he was ever put in the position in the first place. Okay?
Yeah, this could just be a bad pick.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately what I'm kind of lending myself to.
I mean, I think this is agreement though. He's saying Iran has been after Trump.
Big threats on my life by Iran.
Yeah,
the entire U.S. military is watching and waiting. Iran has been after Trump since January of 2024. This isn't a new threat. The Secret Service consistently failing to secure Trump
I mean,
is
he's putting the fact that he's saying Iran is a threat. The reason people are pointing to this and saying why did Joe Kent change is because he is agreeing Iran was a threat, and in the letter he says Iran is not a threat.
That's my point.
And his
so that's contradiction's a red flag.
Well, I'm also pointing out a little bit of. I mean, I'm already pointing out undercutting before the man's even into the position. Before Trump's even been elected.
Okay.
Which goes to what as Eric was saying there. Maybe it was just a really bad pick that this guy has already sort of although a conservative, we'll see. Was he undermining Trump before he even?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, to me,
maybe I'm totally wrong here.
Well, it just
but
seems like
he's contradicting Trump, in my opinion.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's saying. I'm saying Trump is saying that Iran's after me. This guy is saying, well, this is not new.
Well, by comparison of Trump 2 versus Trump 1, where you had, where you have now, in my opinion, one of the best cabinets in the history of presidential administrations, compared to the picks of the first administration, where we're dealing with like Omarosa from the stupid TV show and a lot of really bad picks in that first administration, and it was just a constant carousel of musical chairs getting these Scaramucci types and Omarosa types and
it was a comic book at best. Well,
I think they can move. I think they can move pretty quickly and pivot here and get through this pretty quick.
I want to clarify one thing, because somebody, Wilson was saying this in the comments, and I agree with you, Wilson. I understand what you're pointing out is that he's using that tweet to undercut the Secret Service, not to question Trump.
Because they set Trump up at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
But I'm saying no one thought of it from my perspective when he tweeted that. But now when you look at it through the lens of him he's been questioning Trump's moves here for a while. It sounds like he went all the way back to June of 2025, and he's been still working for him. So we're talking 9 months, 8 months here. If he's been sort of this undercut, when you look at that tweet through the lens of what happened today with this resignation, was he given all of these clues about I don't trust Trump anyway, with what he's saying with these being a new threat? Maybe I'm reading into it, but that's the way I look at it, and I say that that's why when something like this happens and there's a resignation, we start going back and we start looking where there's signs.
Well, I mean, it's just people's opinions are just like the Republican Party. It's a coalition. Things can happen. Things can change. You rank your issues as this is my most important issue, top 3. We mostly agree, and then things get in and you change. And this was a big shift. There's no doubt. I mean, you go from Trump in his second term last year, going to Saudi Arabia, critiquing the foreign policy, over the last 20 years about how arrogant we are, that we can think we could come in and nation build. Now, granted, I'm glad that we don't have that same rhetoric that we're going to go in and spread democracy in Iran. That's not what this is about. So that's at least somewhat positive. But at some point, I'm just grasping at straws. I'll just speak for myself. Here's some different takes from around the internet on Joe Kent's resignation. Ben Zeisloff writes, "Now watch as the most toxic voices in conservative politics viciously attack a combat veteran and a Gold Star husband." This is Joe Kent's late wife, Shannon, who died in Syria.
When was that? Do you know?
I believe it was in 2019.
And he got remarried in 2020.
I'm not sure. Maybe it was before that. I don't know exactly. Here's some more takes. Hang on 1 second. Where was that? Okay, so this was supposed to actually be here. Here's another take. Eric Erickson says, "There's a rule in conservative politics that a man is rarely to the right of his wife. Joe Kent lost his first wife in war and remarried a woman who now works for a far-left anti-Israel, pro-Iran website. Kent should have never been appointed to anything in the Trump administration." Aaron McIntyre writes, "A lot of people who correctly found the behavior of Candace Owens towards a widow disturbing will be conveniently discarding that principle today." And again, to me, all of this is so unnecessary, and the only reason people like Eric Erickson and others is like, here's a guy who has an opinion you disagree with. He's now resigned. Would you rather him still be in there?
Oh, I agree with
when
you.
he doesn't believe in the mission and might have trouble accomplishing and executing the orders?
Say that then in the resignation letter. Don't say that that there wasn't anything imminent when you knew and said that it was before, and now you're contradicting yourself.
It is a contradiction.
The red flags and takes away your credibility.
Well, look, Caroline Leavitt. All right, I'm going to push back on that. Last week, we covered the story of the imminent Iranian drone strike off of California and the FBI tip. And you know what Caroline Leavitt said? She said, this story is bogus. There is no threat to the homeland. And I am almost exactly quoting her. Okay, now she is out saying, hey, Joe Kent is wrong. There is a threat. Now, there can be different levels of threat. There can be an assassination threat where the Secret Service is leaving the door wide open for Iran. There can be a drone threat that isn't really a threat. Okay? Then there can be the threat of sleeper cells, which could be a real threat. So, threat, it's like,
well, it's a subjective word, threat.
But, yeah,
threat
it is. But what
word.
we can 100% say, is Iran a threat to Israel? 100%. Okay, and so they're different, and so Israel and the United States are different countries, different places, different people, and so this gets to the heart of what America First is. And right now, the case is being made or not being made. You know, it'd be a lot. This thing would be a lot easier if it was just more transparent and people were like what Marco Rubio and Mike Johnson originally said. They originally said, we had to protect American troops because Israel was going to attack. That's what they originally said, both of them, and they weren't the only ones. And so as commander-in-chief, you have to make that decision. No, I'm not going to let U.S. soldiers die, so we're going to go ahead and attack first because they are. That was the original thing, and this is what Joe Kent is saying. Look, this didn't have to happen this way, but it did, and the fact that it did. And so listen to what Tulsi Gabbard said, because this whole thing also is. So Tulsi Gabbard puts out a statement today. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, before she was DNI, but back when she was a Democrat, she was very critical of wars, very critical of intervention.
Regime change, she was very much against.
Well, because, again, she served in the military just like Joe Kent did. And, there's a lot of these veterans who have fought in these Middle Eastern wars while we were at home that have very strong opinions about the real reasons we're over there and whether or not it's worth it. And I never fought over there. So all I'm saying is the fact that he is a gold star. It's like just let the guy go. I didn't lose my wife in the Middle East. I have no idea. I don't have a son that's overseas right now. That's like some of these things, like just like we criticize Lindsey Graham for advocating war with no kids. Some of this stuff is so far out of our. Sure, comment about it. This is America, but to come at it in such a black and white thing when there's all the I don't know. I'm frustrated.
No, it reminds me of why everyone got so upset with Candace Owens when she immediately started coming out with all this so-called suspicion and unverified dirt on Erica Kirk, because we were like, dude, what are you saying? Like, she's a grieving widow. Like, stop. Don't do this.
Yeah, that's a similar point that Aaron is making. But let's read. Do you want to read the statement, Rob? You want to read that statement by Tulsi Gabbard?
By Tulsi Gabbard, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Donald Trump was overwhelmingly elected by the American people to be our president and commander-in-chief. As our commander-in-chief, he is responsible for determining what is and is not an imminent threat, and whether or not to take action he deems necessary to protect the safety and security of our troops, the American people, and our country. The Office of Director of National Intelligence is responsible for helping coordinate and integrate all intelligence to provide the president and commander-in-chief with the best information available to inform his decisions. After carefully reviewing all of the information before him, President Trump concluded that the terrorist Islamic regime in Iran posed an imminent threat, and he took action based on that conclusion. I have some thoughts on this statement, but what do you guys think?
Well, that's a very skillful political tightrope that she just walked, where she is not criticizing the president. She is still even intuiting that she is going to continue to serve the president and support him and continue to provide him with her assessments. Ultimately, we elected him as a commander-in-chief. Ultimately, the decision lies with him.
Yeah, I think what she's saying here, too, is like this comes down to trust. Do we trust President Trump? I do. I know he knows a ton that I don't know. I know he's briefed on a ton of information that I'm not briefed on. I know that he has tons of intel that he has. Hopefully it's being presented to him in an objective, clear, and transparent way that I will never, ever see, and that he made the right decision in the moment, like I think he usually does, to do the right thing for what's best for America. Because I believe and I trust that everything that he does, he thinks of America and Americans first. I do not believe that he is under an Israeli spell and that he is making the decisions based on the Jews. Okay? That's just me. That's my 2 cents. That's all it's worth. It's worth 2 cents, but I trust that Donald Trump is doing what's best for America and that this was the right decision to go in and do what they did and set Iran back decades for their ability to do what we think and have evidence that they would have done the minute they had the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I think that statement, Paul, you said it best here, was very very calculated because she would imagine that all eyes would be on what her statement would be.
Yeah, after the news breaks that Kent has resigned and has said that Trump was given intel or was put into the decision that was manufactured.
Yes. So she gave a statement that supported Donald Trump, but yet also did not throw her former colleague under the bus here.
Yep.
What she is saying is that we presented all of this evidence, and our commander-in-chief, who was overwhelmingly elected and trusted to make these decisions, made the best decision that he believed was needed at that time. What was an imminent threat? What we're also not taking into account is that Tulsi Gabbard, being the director of national intelligence, doesn't have all the information. Yeah. She's got a great majority. She probably has a lot more than most folks. But when the only person, realistically, unless we saw what we saw in Trump 1.0, where generals were keeping information from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Realistically, the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States, should have more information than everybody because he gets it from his DNI. He gets it from his Department of Defense. He gets all of this, Department of War, all of this information. So I understand why Tulsi made this claim. I'm a huge fan of Tulsi. I mean, obviously, J.D. Vance has been just a breath of fresh air, but my pick was going to be for Tulsi because woman of color, former Democrat, she just really, really would have been a great side ticket as, the vice president. However, I'm glad that he put her in such an important role here in an administration. And there's no way in the world that Tulsi Gabbard ends up as the DNI unless she is so adamantly anti what we're doing right now. Okay? Remember that. She constantly said, no regime change wars, none of this foreign involvement. And Trump put her in that place specifically because of that.
Yep.
Because that he has held that and beat that drum for so long.
No, I think you're right in terms of, with Tulsi Gabbard being, everybody's actually been asking the last 2 weeks, like, what does Tulsi Gabbard think about all this? Mm-hmm. But the fact that she's still there and she's been so quiet, to me, and I'm just spitballing here, I can't imagine she was for this. I think, but at the same time, I mean, there's kind of a philosophy here. A lot of people abide by this, where you have open debate, around an issue. This is the way I would want an elder board to be at a church, for example, where, debate. But then you have a vote, and you have the vote, and if your side loses, if it's something that, you can live with, and it's not like, some sort of mortal, terrible decision that's sinful, you don't go out of the meeting and tell everybody, well, I was against it and I think it's a bad idea. No, you say, okay, no, we as a group, we're going to go forward and you're going to go out and you're going to support it. Yeah. That seems what she's doing. The fact that she's still there, if there ever is an off-ramp to the war, I got a feeling she's going to be involved in getting us there, and I think less troops die with Tulsi Gabbard there.
We did not mention her by name the day after we went in, but we talked about it on the show.
Yeah,
and we said, aren't we thankful that people like Pete Hegseth and General Kane and others, and we should have mentioned Tulsi Gabbard specifically by name because she was there too. Aren't we thankful that the people that are in leadership roles now that are making the decisions for how we do this were the ones who were in Afghanistan, who served before, and understand that we're not going to go back to doing what we did again and make those same mistakes. And they went up to the podium multiple times, multiple days in a row, and said, press, America, everyone, we get it. We're not going in to do what we did in Afghanistan and Iraq.
The nation building.
We're not there to do that.
Let's hope.
Let us do what we need to do, but we get it. We know y'all don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Our boots were the ones that were on the ground doing that, and we knew it was stupid then too, personally.
Yeah.
So who better could we put our trust in right now than them?
I wanted to highlight this clip or this here because, Eric, you said this resonated with you, and you already kind of mentioned this, but Robbie Starbuck was covering the resignation of Joe Kent, and a lot of people in the comments were attacking him. And so eventually he posted this. Some people seem very confused by my take on Iran, so I'll explain
I like
it.
this take. This is
I have
good.
always supported targeted strikes and assassinations to remove the extremists there who belong to a death cult and want us all dead. I do not want to support a ground war. Very simple.
Very simple.
Yep, very simple.
My view is to let them kill each other as they've done for thousands of years unless they kill our people, in which case we assassinate those responsible. Iran has been killing Americans and acting against our interests for my entire life, hence my support for sending Khamenei to hell where he belongs. I also oppose the Iraq and Afghanistan ground wars. Our young men and women are too valuable to me to have them die in a sandbox run by lunatics who are perfectly willing to kill their sons for decades as a part of their death cult beliefs. Targeted killings send the message we need to send and can result in the change we'd like to see. He says, I'm choosing to trust President for now. That's what you were just saying, given his track record with ISIS, Afghanistan, Venezuela, and various peace deals. I think he can get this done without the prolonged ground war. If that changes and this becomes a prolonged war where we lose our troops, I will be opposed to it. That is my Iran position. There it is, my Iran position. For some reason, it seems to piss off both sides of the debate.
Because here's the deal. Here's the deal about this. It's what we talked about again when this first started. This is not a binary decision for him, just like it's not a binary decision for me or you or anyone in our chat or anyone listening in the LFF family. This is not, you do not have to say, I'm with Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham and Ben Shapiro, and we need to zap them all. Or I don't think we should do anything. We should just sit by idly and hope and pray that nothing happens. You don't have to be, you can find balance somewhere in the middle. And this is the middle. And this is okay.
Yeah,
and everybody needs to understand that this is okay. And so when you're talking with people, you can have a conversation about a balanced approach to this Iran war, conflict, incursion, in whatever you want to label it. This can be an objective, balanced opinion for how you feel about it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, and let's take Tulsi Gabbard's statement. Let's take what Eric just said with Robbie Starbuck, all of that stuff, and say the majority of us are probably in the middle. I see it in the chat. People are saying, I support Trump. I'm for Trump. But if we send ground troops into Iran,
it's a bridge too far.
It's a bridge too far because that's not what I voted for.
Right.
Now, I also I don't believe that if there is intel that says a strike is imminent, that some sort of strike is imminent, that a nuclear weapon is imminent. And that's what Trump has said, right? That he believed that the nuke was imminent, and as well as, that a danger to the United States, whether that be our bases in the Middle East or, our actual homeland, which seems unlikely to me, but you just don't know. You don't know if your intel would support it. But I would just say this. The majority of us would say Iran having a nuclear weapon is my idea of a nightmare. Okay, because if you have the world's largest state sponsor of terror, if you believe all the reports, funding all of these terrorist organizations trying to create all of this chaos, what would they do with a nuclear weapon? They would blow Israel off the map first, right? Immediately try to get through that Iron Dome. And so, but what would they do to us? What would they do to our bases? I don't know. They're unpredictable. I have no problem with taking out this terrorist leader. I do have a problem with ground troops.
Oh yeah, and I think everybody, a lot of people are united on that. I will just add that the scenario of Iran getting a nuclear weapon and immediately using it against Israel would end their civilization as well. So that calculation only works if the people at the top are the theocratic crazy people that we're all told that they are, where they throw self-preservation by the wind, they throw their own human luxuries, comforts to the wind, and would nuke a Western country or Western allied country, their civilization
to their own demise.
Now, it's possible. I mean, I know what the Quran says.
Yeah,
his son signed up to be the next Ayatollah,
right?
Knowing that he's next.
Yeah, I know.
He's like, I'm next.
Oh, by the way, somebody did say on the reports that the Trump was briefed that the new Ayatollah is gay.
Yeah,
and people were immediately like, Lindsey Graham could do the funniest thing right now.
No.
Oh, my God.
Take one for the team.
No, don't do it.
He could end this war himself.
World peace.
Lord have mercy. No.
World peace, man.
Lindsey Graham's coming over with a box of Chardonnay.
All right, here we go. I'm going to...
Lindsey Graham's got the Franzia. He's coming over with 2 glasses of Chardonnay.
All right, let's take a quick break real quick. I got a couple of ads I'm going to get through. And when we come back, I want to tell you about what a local story here in Arkansas that's made national news. The Turning Point USA chapter from the University of Arkansas has now disaffiliated with Turning Point USA. I have an inside source on that. I can give a little bit more context to what you're reading nationally about that. We're going to talk about that. Also, election fraud, voter fraud. Where does Tulsi Gabbard play into that? There's now stories piggybacking kind of off of what we said the last couple of weeks about the voter fraud that went on in the Texas primary 2 weeks ago. We'll have all of that for you here in just a minute. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order, verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, 1 cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
All right, folks, welcome back. Don't forget, make sure you use the promo code Paul. The promo code Paul when you go to 7weekscoffee.com. We're down 1. We've lost Rob. We've lost him. Tragically, he had to go. But we're still here. Rob could only stick around for the hour with us, and I foolishly didn't allow him to sign off, so I apologize. But we still got Eric with us. Eric, how are you?
Fantastic conversation in the first hour.
I really liked that. I honestly, I feel like, and LFA, you guys feel free to, like, I was just saying during the break, I really feel like on this issue, this Joe Kent issue that kind of exposes a lot of other issues, really the overall divide, I feel like all sides are pretty well represented, and there is a middle ground there,
Yeah.
But I feel like all three of us maybe have slightly different points of view on it, and I'm okay with that.
These are the conversations that are going on in America. They're going on in hospitals and banks and
the water cooler,
restaurants and water coolers. And I hear it all day, every day in different, little snippets here and there when I'm out, with my occupation. And it just reinforces the point that I've said many times before, which is why these conversations are so important and so meaningful, and why we can all engage together and talk and chat and have long form conversation versus little mass media snippets that don't really provide all that much context.
So we're going to move on now to this story, which is out of Arkansas. I thought I had the KATV news article on this. I'd like to go there first because I want to see you I want you to see the. I'm sorry, I should have pulled this up. And so it is Turning Point U of A. Yeah, here it is. KATV, University of Arkansas TP USA chapter dissolves. Let me throw this up there on the screen for you guys. Here it is. University of Arkansas TP USA chapter dissolves, rebrands as Young Americans for Revival. That's Young Americans for Revival. Eric, I got to fix you there. There you are.
Sorry.
So the University of Arkansas chapter of Turning Point USA announced that it is dissolving its affiliation with the national organization and rebranding as Young American Revival. A guy by the name of Dino Fantagrossi, the president of the University of Arkansas TPUSA chapter, announced the decision on Monday, citing discussions with the chapter's executive board. So the executive board meets, and they put out a statement. And we've got the statement here. A joint statement from the Turning Point at the University of Arkansas Executive Board. My name is Dino Fantagrossi. I'm the chapter president of Turning Point USA at the University of Arkansas. I joined TPUSA the first semester of my freshman year. That was 10 semesters ago, 5 of which I have served the honor of being in charge. I have seen this organization flourish, dwindle, rebuilt it from the ground up, and helped to grow it bigger than it ever has been. I have poured blood, sweat, and tears into the chapter and spent countless nights strategizing, planning, and drafting materials to table with or for events. This chapter has meant the world to me, and I am incredibly proud of everything we have accomplished on our campus and in our community. Turning Point USA has given me countless opportunities to meet influential people, make connections, make friends, and memories that will last a lifetime. I will always be eternally grateful for this. Though, for some time now, it has seemed that this organization has lost sight of what is truly important. We are no longer focused on our guiding North Star, that is, fighting for conservative policy, principles, and values. At least, that is how I have always understood it. Instead, it feels that we have become consumed with metrics, creating the next viral cultural moment, and generally chasing relevance. We have become reactionary when we need to be proactive. After discussion with my executive board, we have come to the unanimous decision to dissolve our affiliation with Turning Point USA and rebrand our registered student organization under our own label, Young American Revival, at the University of Arkansas. This decision was not made lightly. We discussed this for some time, weighing the pros and cons and seeking spiritual discernment. We have many grievances with Turning Point USA, which we will shortly make known to them in private, but I will share only one. We are generally put off by how Charlie Kirk has been used by TPUSA since his assassination. Statements like Charlie would have said and Charlie would have wanted have felt in many instances disingenuous and manipulative. Charlie Kirk cannot speak for himself anymore, and we do not recognize the way others have attempted to speak for him. Though, the one thing I always took away from my interactions with Charlie was the importance of being your own man or woman. Sometimes that means making tough decisions just like this one. We expect many non-members looking in from the outside will not fully understand our decision. We also believe many longtime student members will recognize why we came to this conclusion. We do not want to start the next chapter of our journey in conflict, so we will not make any more public statements on Turning Point USA going forward. Instead, we will remain solely focused on its mission as it was always intended to be, advocating for Christian, conservative values and policy, and now unburdened by 501c3 status, supporting grassroots conservative candidates. With Young American Revival, we hope to enable students to not only fight for change on their college campus, but in their surrounding community as well. We will be carrying over all the same fun events and chapter meetings we did through Turning Point, while also being civically engaged with local and state campaigns that deserve our help knocking doors and getting out the vote for grassroots candidates. This, we believe, will make our mission more focused and powerful than it has ever been before. To all of our fellow students at the University of Arkansas, join us for a real fight for change. We can and will make Arkansas into the greatest state in the union. God bless you all. Again, this is the University of Arkansas Turning Point chapter now disaffiliating. By the way, in reading that felt very Charlie-esque to me. Yeah. As I was reading it, I was thinking, that sounds like something Charlie would say, honestly. Did you see this coming? This is an interesting situation because it was, I believe, a week ago, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders hosted Erica Kirk in Arkansas at Little Rock, and they announced the Turning Point chapters are going, or the high school version of the college is going into high schools in Arkansas. And now the U of A is saying, you know what? Something's not right. They don't think something's right. You got any thoughts on that, Eric? I got thoughts. I actually have a source that I can get into, but you want to get your thoughts.
That's what I want to hear, because this is what happens for me personally. This is the time where I see stuff like this and I keep my mouth shut. Mm-hmm. I don't make gut instinct assumptions based on that letter because I know there's something way more to the story than just this letter. I think this letter was heartfelt. As you said, it was very well written, sounds very Charlie-esque. In its delivery and the way it reads, but this is not where I make, here's what's obviously going on here. Yeah. Because I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
But I know there's way more to it than just this.
Yep. So,
and there always is. So it's the way I'm teaching my children is to not be the first to speak, be slow to speak, wait, keep your mouth closed, listen, watch and see what happens next. Before you make an assumption, before you bust out on social media with your 2 cents and your opinion as if everybody cares, just wait, be patient, see what else happens, see what else comes of this situation, what may come out, and then go from there.
Yeah, so what I can tell you is, first of all, just to kind of recap, the letter only gives one reason why the Turning Point at the University of Arkansas is rebranding and disaffiliating, and that is they feel like Charlie's name is being manipulated. Again, Charlie would have did this, or Charlie would have said that. So that's the first reason, but there are more reasons. I can report to you there are more reasons as to why they've disaffiliated, and I have a source. I live in Arkansas, so it's not a crazy thing. And I'm not going to reveal the source, but what I can tell you is sources say that this the other reasons were that Turning Point USA is taking money from organizations that they feel, the U of A students feel, Charlie would have never accepted money from. And so I've heard that, and I believe that because I have a source who would know. And the Middle Eastern war right now with Iran is also a sticking point. And there's a lot of different ways that you could describe that. I don't know exactly, how they would describe it, but they're not happy. The young people, that's the other reason. They are not happy with the domestic policy being put on hold, or at least it appears being put on hold while we have to be over there in the Middle East. So, make of that what you will. the fact is, that's what I can report to you. You can believe it. You can choose not to believe it. But the young people are the young people want their country. They want their country, and they want.
As much as we critique and sort of pick fun at sometimes the next generation because they're not like us Gen Zers or Gen Xers like me. Man, they're sharp and they're in touch with what's going on and they care and they're engaged and they are actively engaged and they're reading their Bibles.
Yes.
And they are
Yes,
fully
amen.
involved. And situations like this, it just makes me miss Charlie Kirk.
Amen.
It makes me miss Rush Limbaugh. I talked about this the other day. This infighting and stuff that we have to talk about. It's infuriating to some degree because it just makes you miss the people that would have brought unity and brought us together more. And that's what I'm missing in this. So when I see stuff like this, my heart sinks a little bit because I'm sure there's reasoning here that's valid. I'm sure there's absolutely some things that need to be fixed. And getting back to conservative people that we know their names that are constantly fighting now. It's just a big source of frustration, and we miss the people that would have brought a lot of these things together.
Yeah, but to your point on that, let's go ahead and here's some positive news. Townhall.com reporting for the first time in a decade, over half of Gen Z males and millennial males are reading the Bible weekly. Bible sales are skyrocketed in every single demographic in 2025. This is incredible. Do you know what happens when young men in a generation, we were just talking about St. Patrick at the top of the show. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody watching in hour number 2. We were just talking about how the most unlikely scenarios happen where you have pagan Druid Ireland. They enslave a kid and he escapes, goes back to his home, and then he has a mission. He believes he needs to go back to Ireland and preach the gospel to his former slave masters, to the former culture. And he does it. And the Lord saves a bunch of people. And they come to faith in Christ. And then when Europe needs a revival, Ireland sends missionaries back into Europe, to secure the purity of the church. It's pretty incredible. And I will tell you this, from an American standpoint, our country needs... We need a revival in so many ways. We need it. Our families need it. But this is the ticket, right? Literally reading the Word of God, allowing it to inform, allowing this, the Spirit is working. If people are reading their Bibles more, they're not just doing it because they're not getting anything out of it. The Lord is moving in that regard, and that's a big deal. And oftentimes, certainly it happened in the first Great Awakening with Whitefield. Something seems to happen a lot of times when people hear the gospel preached all up and down the colonies, or they start reading their Bible. Revolutions happen. Not necessarily violent ones, but revolutions tend to happen. And I think that's what you're seeing. I mean, how many of the people who are, in charge of the University of Arkansas, Turning Point USA, are reading their Bibles more than previous generations, and they're saying, you know what, it's time to stand up. But we see something we disagree with, we're going to respectfully call it out. We're not going to trash the entire organization, which they didn't do.
Right.
I mean, I'm the one reporting on people are talking. People are, but I'll just tell you that this is a positive. This is the ticket. And we need to celebrate that positivity. And regardless of what TPUSA is or becomes or was, Charlie had an effect on a lot of people, and Charlie taught people to question everything.
Yeah.
I don't. When I say that, I'm not talking necessarily about conspiracies. Although whatever, do ask as many questions as you want. But the point of it is, biblical truth is the foundation of any political movement that is going to last.
Yeah.
Has to have a foundation of Christ, because Christless conservatism, that's not going to stand. It's not. And there's a very ripe mission field out there of red-pilled people on the right who are not Christian, by the way. They see the evil of the left, and they realize, there's evil. Well, they need to keep going and be like, okay, well, if there's objective evil in this world that you know is evil, there's also objective good, and it's the God of heaven, right? It's the creator of all life. So, anyway, let me know, guys, what's the chat saying? The chat saying anything about this story out of Arkansas? I covered it because it's a national story. All right, well, let me know if anybody in the chat says anything. And I reported this. If you want to go to the X account there, I'll give you the reasons why I'm hearing. Where else do we want to go? Let's go here. Real quick, a couple of things to note. Number one, just kind of wrapping a bow on the Joe Kent thing, Eric. A lot of people saying that he's a leaker, right? Good riddance, he was a leaker. Well, don't necessarily, that could be true. Maybe Joe Kent was a leaker. But you know who else was also a, quote, leaker? A guy by the name of Dan Caldwell. Do you remember when Pete Hegseth fired this guy? And it wasn't Hegseth, but,
right.
You know, that was the thing. Oh, this
guy and two others.
He's terrible, terrible guy. He's a leaker, right? Well, guess what? They did an investigation. The guy lost his job for nothing. It's now been determined he's not a leaker, and that's why Brianna Morello is now reporting that Dan Caldwell, again, not the most pro-war guy, he's certainly, Lindsey Graham is not a fan of this guy. He's now been hired on. Yeah, well, maybe he is. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes the jokes just write themselves.
More Chardonnay. Oh, I brought the Franzia tonight. Or what?
Bless.
The black box.
Bless.
I brought the black box Chardonnay tonight.
All right. So anyway, Dan Caldwell has now been hired on to work for Tulsi Gabbard. So there you go. Just
she knows talent when she sees it.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Food for thought. Something to think about. Also, this was kind of my litmus test with this Red State headline. A headline out of Red State: China can wait. Trump wants to delay Beijing summit to focus on Iran. Now, I know I've said this off air. I don't know if I actually ever said this on the air. But I had read a report early on 2 weeks ago when the war in Iran kicked off. What we talked about was, Donald Trump has said it's going to be a short incursion. But there were people saying that the China trip will be a litmus test. That if Trump goes on the scheduled trip to Beijing, this official state visit that he's going on, the war will likely be over and concluded by then.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, meaning Trump doesn't want to go to China with the war still raging, right?
Right.
So that if he postpones the trip, we've got 6 more weeks of winter. It's this is the Punxsutawney Phil geopolitical war test. And now you are starting to see this headline that Trump is going to postpone his trip to China, which would mean, in all likelihood, that the war will continue. But that also would mean, likewise, that when the trip is scheduled, the troops will be home and we won't, hopefully things will be better off. So just food for thought. Just take that for what it's worth. Go ahead.
You were talking about how Trump was saying it'll be a super quick incursion. I think part of the problem that the media had with this was that he wasn't saying anything and he was being very vague about it.
Yeah.
Well, and he would bounce around when he said it. You'd see him physically saying, "Well, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few days."
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't that he was being flippant about it. He was just not going to give them the satisfaction of saying, "Hey, you said it was going to be 3 days. Well, it's day 4. Shouldn't we completely pull out and not be doing anything else now?" I think that was the point of Trump's genius, is that he didn't make any promises. All he said was, is that I support what our Secretary of War and Colonel or General Kane is doing, and as they came out and communicated, they were really clear about, this is our strategy.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. We're taking out their Air Force. We're taking out their Navy. We're taking out their places where they manufacture drones, manufacture these missiles, and we're wiping all that stuff out. We were super, super scalpel blade with it in the beginning, and now that their ability to fight back has gone down 80 to 90%, now we're going in with the big bombs.
Yeah.
And we're busting up their bunkers where they have all these thousands of missiles stored underground.
Yeah.
And where they make these things, and we're going to blow the heck out of them up from there. So, I do think this is an interesting indicator, though, because I was thinking like
you watching the oil. You talking about the oil?
No,
price?
no, I'm talking about Xi Jinping. He did not want to go to China without a message arriving in China with. Do you see how we just took care of that situation over there in Iran?
Yeah, he wants to be able to say, hey, that 50-year problem has now been solved in 4 weeks.
No other president in 5 decades took care of that problem like I did.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Taiwan. Don't
don't
be buddies with Russia in a way in which we don't need you to, and like chill.
I actually think Trump's geopolitical plans for Russia are to normalize relations with Russia to separate China and Russia. That's kind of what I think. But hey, by the way, did you see Rob's new chair?
I did.
Now that Rob's not here.
I'm a little jealous.
Look, the empty chair, as Clint Eastwood would say. See, look at that new chair. Rob got himself a new chair. You see it there. Let me give you a better. There it is. Look at that. I hope Rob's listening.
Our chairs are fine. We're not a couple of beta males. We're fine.
I know. I'm just saying he got himself a new chair, and I'm just sitting there looking at that empty chair like Clint Eastwood. You remember the Clint? Do you remember that?
And now we'll go to commercial break, folks, and chairs will be changed.
Do you remember the empty
Paul
chair?
and I are going to fight over that chair in the next commercial.
That's
break.
right. That's right. Do you remember
Ozempic commercial in 3,
do you remember,
2, 1?
Do you remember the empty chair Clint Eastwood speech? It was really
yes.
It was really bad.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
it was awkward. Everybody was like,
yeah.
Okay. It's
anyway.
one of those things where you plan it out, but then it doesn't land, and you just kind of wondered, oh, you didn't really read the room very well.
Yeah, and I love Clint Eastwood.
I do too.
Love him to death. Think he's a great director. Love Clint Eastwood movies. My goodness, Clint Eastwood movie will make you want to smoke a cigar, like 50 cigars. It's like there's tobacco users through the entire, it's just constant.
My problem was I was too young to miss out on a whole lot of the westerns. A lot of those were around before I was even born. So then when he was coming out with movies when I was a kid, it was like the movies with the orangutan, Every Which Way But Loose.
Yeah.
So it's just him having barefisted like bar fights with these guys that would spill over into town, and a bare knuckle fight would last for 45 minutes of an hour and a half movie, and then you got this orangutan that was their pet running around for part of the movie too. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. That's
kind of my Clint Eastwood thing.
Yeah.
Later on, the whole Unforgiven and all those bigger blockbuster movies, that kind of was a different Clint Eastwood era.
Yeah, they were good. I don't even think I watched a Clint. This is probably, I don't know if there's any millennials out there. Of course, we're barely millennials. I don't know if there's any.
I'm the last year of Gen X.
Yeah. Oh, you are the last year of Gen X. Oh, awesome.
The very last year of Gen X.
That's great, though.
I know what it's like to grow up without technology and with technology, basically.
I do. I feel like I do as well. Probably also because I had older sisters that are Gen X. So, I had a Walkman. Look at this right here. You see this?
I hit my head on that thing.
Yeah, you hit my head
last week.
Look, this is a double tape deck. This was literally from my bedroom when I was a child, but it belonged to my older sister. Literally, I mean, it used to have speakers, that are connected actually down here.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is a double tape deck. I could record songs off the radio, which I did. I know analog technology. We saw it move to digital, but also there was a auxiliary input to where when I got a Discman, right, went from a Walkman to a Discman, I could put the Discman and hook it up to these speakers, and now you had a CD player.
Dude, my parents were huge music buffs growing up. So, I mean, I grew up on Journey and Kansas and Boston and all those great bands and the great 80s music that led into the 90s music, which was good too in its own way. But that's one of the things that daily raising children now in this generation, and my oldest, my twins are 11. It's just like when music comes on and my blood starts to boil because how bad music sucks now.
Yeah.
And I can't. So I'm constantly putting things on just to kind of freak them out a little bit. Like I put on More Than a Feeling the other day as we were going to some event, and they're like, is he really singing that? Is that his real voice? Or I'd put on Journey and be like, yeah, that's Steve Perry. Like that's his voice.
Yep.
They're like, no way.
Yep.
They just can't understand it. They're auto-tune kids.
I know. It's sad.
It's sad,
It's
man.
really sad. Who do you
love
take?
the tape deck.
Yeah, thank you. Who do you take? David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Oh, David Lee Roth for sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know. I get it.
No. I mean, you can make the argument that was Van Halen, but I grew up.
Yeah.
And I listen. I was a Van Halen kid, but I was more partial to Sammy just because they were making albums when I was alive.
My parents had Jump.
Yeah, of course. But now I go back. Honestly, I'll just be real. Like I can't listen to that music anymore. Like I go back and listen to the lyrics. I'm like, how did my parents allow me to listen to this?
Yeah, lyrically speaking,
It's awful. I mean, the 1950s rock and roll moms were right. I think they were 100% right.
I get it, man. Well, so what did it in with me was when David Lee Roth went solo for the first time, and like one of his first solo songs that was on MTV forever when I was a little kid was "I'm Just a Gigolo." Remember that song?
I do not. I don't remember that at all.
You don't?
I remember Sammy Hagar's "I Can't
Just
Drive
a
55."
gigolo everywhere I go.
This whole conversation, this has been good.
Sorry.
This is good. No,
Sorry,
this is
chat.
the full circle. The reason I brought up millennial Gen X is because the first Clint Eastwood movie I ever saw wasn't a Clint Eastwood movie. It was Back to the Future Part 2. Great flick. Great freaking flick when he does the bulletproof vest, right? So I don't know if that's a millennial Gen X thing, but I didn't even watch a Clint Eastwood movie until much later. But that was the first one. But that brings me full circle to Sammy Hagar's best number one single solo, which would be "I Can't Drive 55," which is also in the same movie.
Yeah,
Back to the Future
Part 2. Yeah,
it's funny how things work like that.
The
Full
new
circle.
1984.
Yes,
remember
in the
arriving
alternate,
at
sometime
Biff's Casino and Hotel.
Yeah, the timeline skewed to an alternate 1985. Yes, 100%.
Crazy drunk drivers.
That was a crazy dystopian.
Man, we have gone a long way.
No, we have.
In this chat. This is great.
We have
everybody's chiming in too. They're all these bands that are coming up are all the ones that my parents had records of and that we were blasting all the time growing up. So it's just it's tough these days because I'm just like, sorry kids, that's not good.
Yep.
That does not sound good.
It's because the talent pool is bad. There's people that are literally just there for fame. They're not actually there on the talent because everything's predetermined,
And they don't have anything going on in their life that inspires them that much to write the great music that came out of the 70s and 80s. I mean, my gosh, the getting back to your point about the lyrics, like the lyrics may have been a little rough, but they were real. Like the lyrics now, they're all songs written by other people for them, and it's just crap.
I was talking to some millennial family members of mine that are younger than me. Like I consider them a different generation almost, even though we're lumped into the same. And they were saying that even like mid-2000s butt rock is so nice to listen to compared to what's like they're experiencing what you're talking about. But I mean, if you go, it's just like somebody. Literally, my family member was like, "Yeah, we listen to that just because it's something to have on that you don't feel like you're being MK Ultra mind controlled."
Oh yeah, right.
Because so much of the music now, it is while the lyrics might have been bad back then or whatever, everything feels so intentionally demonic and deceiving.
Yeah,
everything is so just like, it's hypnotizing. It's like I don't want that stuff. I don't want those frequencies out anyway.
No, man. Blast some CCR, blast some Eagles, Journey.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Def Leppard, even. I mean, going into that era. Golly, that was a good time.
I don't listen. I'll tell you this. I don't really listen to music with words. I listen to soundtracks because I like soundtracks.
That's cool.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I don't really listen to anything, man.
Yeah.
If I've
At
got
least
something on,
I'll say with things like Spotify and whatever, music streaming stations now they group songs together where it's easy for me to hit 80s classic rock and just let the playlist play and have a whole day full of awesome stuff to play out on the back patio while the kids are playing. And like I said, it's just so funny for them to see their reactions now for 11, 12-year-old kids to hear really good music with really good instruments and really good lyrics and really good harmony and to see them be like, wow, that's actually really good.
Yeah, it used to require skill.
That's her real voice. I mean, that's her real voice, man.
Yeah, like
that's how good Fleetwood Mac harmonized. That's how good the Eagles harmonized, kids. Here, listen to Seven Bridges Road and just listen.
Yeah, they had actual talent music. Man, it's so cool that you're Gen X.
Yeah,
I feel like I have always wanted to be I've wanted to be Gen X. You're going to have to let me in the club. You're going to have to call who you need to call.
Well, you need to get yourself a DeLorean.
Yeah.
And you'll have to influence that a little bit.
You have no idea. Independent. If I'm ever independently wealthy, like, and you're just going to buy something like that, you just
the DeLorean. They have like clubs, the DeLoreans. There's like groups where you can get on and you can see all the ones that are listed for sale all over the country, and you can go around and take a look at them. There was one in Searcy years ago, and you could go literally to this car lot and see it. And
we should have had flying cars by now.
I wanted to put on the vest and feel like I was Marty McFly.
Yeah, we should have had flying cars by now, that's for sure. All right, we have 3 election stories that we have got
back
to
the news.
All right, back to the news. The first one is with 3 different election-related stories. The first one is that Ukraine, shocker, wanted Joe Biden. They were going to use their own taxpayer dollars to try to put Joe Biden in office. John Solomon said this on the War Room.
There are scores of raw intelligence reports that show Chinese meddling in the American election, and there's one report raising concern that Ukraine was engaged in a plot to do something bad in the 2024 election to help Joe Biden. I want to repeat that. There is intercepted intelligence that the Trump administration has had for many, many months, in which it is suggested by Ukrainian officials that they're going to try to help Joe Biden win the election using American taxpayer money. There are scores.
There you go.
Wow.
So, nobody is surprised by this. News flash, I'm pretty sure Ryan Routh was put up to the assassination attempt in the golf course by Iran, right? The man that was on in Iran recruiting soldiers, the man that was on mainstream media TV being interviewed about how, the Ukraine, we got to help Ukraine. Yeah, I don't think they just wanted Joe Biden to win. I think there's a possibility that Ukraine was trying to assassinate Donald Trump. But that's just my gut instincts. I need evidence for that. But all I have is circumstantial evidence that this guy really wanted the war in Ukraine to keep going. And it still is. The second election story.
Well, it probably leads to why Voldemort Zelensky didn't have such a good time the first time in the Oval Office.
Right. That's
and
right.
Got slapped around pretty good like he deserved.
Yeah. Got vanced. Got de-vanced. You're not going to add Vance.
You're not taking down my president, sir.
All right, so Rasmussen reports on Patrick Burns' letter from Thomas Joseph Carroll, attorney at law, written to President Donald Trump. He says, on June 14th, the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fannie Willis convened a grand jury and presented false testimony from Dominion's Director of Product and Security, Mr. Coomer. Mr. Coomer has a background as a nuclear physicist and represents that he is a former skinhead and heroin addict. A grand juror asked Eric Coomer if he rigged the 2020 election, and Coomer responded that he did not have access nor the ability to do so. I have received a redacted version of the transcript from the deposition of Eric Coomer taken on January 27, 2026. Coomer's testimony before the Georgia grand jury was a lie. More than 5.5 years after the 2020 election, Coomer admitted that Dominion had remote access of our election equipment in the United States. live during elections, including access to the tally. I am requesting that the Department of Justice review the perjured testimony under oath of Eric Coomer on June 14, 2023, that resulted in an indictment of a former United States president. Moreover, I am requesting that the Department of War, Department of Homeland Security, and the Director of National Intelligence investigate the VPN access implemented long ago and utilized by Dominion for the 2020 election. The VPN, Virtual Private Network access, was used within the United States and internationally by Serbians. This verifies Emerald Robinson's reporting, by the way. Therefore, the United States elections are vulnerable to China, and measures must be immediately taken to prevent vendor or foreign interference in our elections. The U.S. Elections Assistance Commission has numerous Obama holdovers and has recently recertified Smartmatic after the company was indicted by the Department of Justice and certified Dominion's new shell, Liberty Vote. Lastly, I am requesting that the EAC holdovers with expired terms be replaced. I highly recommend Patrick Kolbach and Jonathan R. Miller III for these positions. Respectfully, Thomas J. Carroll. So Thomas Carroll saying, look, this Eric Coomer guy is a liar, and you got to go after him. Now, on that, Emerald Robinson, speaking of Emerald Robinson, she's reporting that several election integrity experts who were hired to investigate election fraud inside the Department of Office of Director of National Intelligence have been fired/removed recently, according to Patrick Byrne. It looks like election fraud investigations led by Tulsi Gabbard are being stopped. Well, she's had the report presented to the White House since June of 2025, and we still haven't seen the report. Now, John Solomon is now talking all about the report. Oh, the report's coming out. We're going to finally get to the bottom of this, but we actually haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
and I'm just telling you right now. Let me just lay it out for you.
Remember how excited we were that evening when we were live, and we got the pictures of her when she was in her hat and she was there on scene. It was just like, yes, come on.
This country, I keep telling you that things are going to be okay in America. Like I can see a scenario where things are going to be okay.
I respect your optimism,
and I see that scenario because of the younger generation. And I keep telling you this, as long as America retains our right to vote, and there's not some black swan event, this country is going to get better representation that actually represents the will of the people.
Yeah.
I really believe that, because these senators who can't even do their jobs, literally it would kill some of them if they had to stand up for 48 hours in some sort of talking filibuster. They physically can't do it. This is going to go away. But I think our elections have been rigged for a very long time. Not all of them at once, but the ones that are high profile enough. I really do believe that. We've been doing these voting machines for a very, very long time. And this SAVE Act, or even a glance at machine reform or whatever, is a way to permanently prevent this up-and-coming younger generation from actually changing how they are governed. So there is a big resistance. The intel oligarch, they do not want to have to steal elections with paper ballots, which is a lot harder and you can get caught a lot easier. It just is.
We highlighted the fact yesterday, and it's something that we've talked about before. We had with Brian Norris as a guest in yesterday, where we just highlighted the fact that just the citizens' vote is super important to make sure that integrity is intact and that we don't have illegals physically showing up to vote, but that they're also not here by the tens of millions to influence the amount of representatives that represent them. Mm-hmm. So to your point about it being rigged, it again gets back to the point why we have to have closed borders and have to send all of those that are here legally back to where they came from, because that influences, and those places where they all go and migrate to illegally, that's what sets up the voting districts and the amount of representatives that represent all of our states. Mm-hmm. So we have to We have to take care of this problem so that we can get the right people in to do the job.
Amen.
And doing the job, which right now, as we've talked about, some can't even physically do, is utmost importance.
Insane. We also have the third election story. People are now writing stories like this. Quote, who hijacked the Texas 2026 Democrat and Republican primary elections? Now, we covered that the election was not above board. Dr. Andrew Paquette, he has a new piece out, as a matter of fact, called Revisiting Bexar County. But here's a guy named Doc Pete Chambers. 66,146 GOP ballots deleted during Texas early voting. 86,336 voters disappeared, reappeared in state records. The Cornyn-Paxton margin is only 26,000. So point of correction, I think I've said that the margin was 4,000, but that was just in one county, I believe. So I misspoke. It was 26,000, which is still not a lot from the whole state. The Cornyn-Paxton margin is only 26,000. Someone inside the system is picking our nominees. Don't certify. Audit, no. This is too big not to notice. Complacency will end our constitutional republic. Your vote disappeared, he writes, during early voting. Thousands of Texas ballots vanished from official state records, then reappeared, then vanished again. In both parties, the data proves someone inside the system is manipulating who wins. We need answers before November. This is the simple numbers. Republican primary, 87,000 voters appeared and disappeared, then reappeared. 66,000 ballots completely deleted from the final count. 35,000 extra ballots added to people who already voted. Only 26,000 votes separated Cornyn and Paxton, but 66,000 ballots disappeared. Then the Democrat primary. He writes, 37,000 voters appeared and disappeared and reappeared. 10,000 ballots completely deleted from the final count. Anyway, it just goes on and on and on. These numbers are bigger than the margins in major races. This affects who appears on your November ballot. Both parties were hit. This isn't partisan. It's corruption. 3 simple rules they broke. Number 1, numbers should never go backwards. We've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
What should happen? Vote totals only go up as more people vote. What actually happened? On February 17th, the vote count went down 7 different times. My point is people are waking up, folks. People know what is going on if they're willing to challenge the status quo. If they're comfortable with the status quo being wrong, meaning that we talk about generations, that the generation ahead of us was duped. We need the people. We need the generation. We need the people in power now to admit that all this technology that you guys adopted, you did it. You were basically like the pigs led to a slaughter, man. And
Same thing with social media for kids.
It's exactly right. It's like it wasn't good. We gave the responsibility away, all in the name of security, and we've lost security.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what happens.
And it'll take another generation to figure out that the pendulum swung too far and that we screwed up, and we screwed up a generation of kids, made them dependent on these stupid things, and we should have pulled them out of their hands from the very beginning and not given them any access to social media outlets or apps. And they would have been way better. They would have been way smarter, and a lot of them would still be alive today if we had done that. And I'm sorry, but the data does not lie on this, and it is really crystal clear. We're seeing it play out right now in Arkansas with the phone ban in schools. And you now have, just in the first year, a 57% reduction. Just in the first year, a 57% reduction in confrontations and a huge, huge reduction in patients' mental insecurities. So it's not a lie.
All right, let's see if we have time for.
Hey, I didn't do my due diligence very well. What is the latest on Paxton? So, because we had that great conversation about how the word is that Cornyn was going to go for the SAVE Act. Paxton was going to bow out.
Trump has said, I'll give you the update. Trump has said he's not endorsing anyone until it's on his desk. The SAVE Act must be on his desk for this question to be answered. So
does Ken Paxton just keep moving full speed ahead with his campaign for the runoff?
I guess, yeah. You're just not going to have anybody get endorsed. That's what it looks like to me. No one gets endorsed.
So he's still ads and raising money and all that stuff. Forgive me, I haven't kept
No,
up.
it's full steam ahead, man. They're not stopping. And I think Paxton will be the nominee in Texas, and we'll see. You never know, man. I mean, like I said, the fraud that went on in the primary is likely also going to be there in the general, in the runoff.
In the runoff.
So there's a lot that needs to get fixed, man. And November's coming. November's coming quick, and they're up there twiddling their thumbs. I don't even know what the latest is. Have you seen what the latest is on the debate on the floor? Are they even still debating? Let's see what it's going on. It looks like they're still live. Live Republicans debate a voting bill on the Senate floor. I'm gonna see if I can't refresh this. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, they're still going. I'm not. Do you recognize that guy? Anyway. They passed the procedural vote, and now it's just onto the Kabuki Theater. I mean, unless a miracle happens, unless some sort of spine is developed by the Republicans, there is not going to be. I mean, they're not going to pass the SAVE Act. It's going to fail. It's not going to get 60 votes. But then Trump will have a decision to make. And that decision has to involve Tulsi Gabbard, and it has to involve an executive order.
Which was part of your 7-point plan.
Yes. Was it 7? It was something like that.
I went back and looked and counted.
Really?
And that was it's a great take, but it will require like 7 sequential
Yeah, it does
steps.
because of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's going to have to get fast-tracked to the Supreme Court. All right, last thing, or at least we'll see if we have time for it. Not to be negative, but this story, this is the craziest story about, and I'm sorry to generalize women in this way. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. But this is the type of stuff that is nuts to me. The New York Post, God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
The New York Post reports that an author named Curry Richens has been found guilty of poisoning her husband, murdering her husband, for his $4 million estate after the jury was deliberated for 3 hours. Now, what's interesting is that this woman is a children's grief author. She writes about grief and how to get over. And I believe that this woman started this career on grief after she murdered her husband.
The irony.
The kind of like psychological deviancy that you would read about in a movie, but truth is stranger than fiction a lot of times.
Yeah, this lady sounds like she's about 5 gallons of crazy in a 2-gallon bucket.
Utah children's grief author Curry Richens was found guilty on Monday of fatally poisoning her husband in a twisted plot to bail herself out of debt with his $4 million estate and run away with her handyman lover.
Good grief.
The jury in Park City handed down the guilty verdict after roughly 3 hours of deliberations following a 3-week trial where prosecutors painted Richens as an egotistical social climber who slipped a fatal dose of fentanyl into her husband Eric's Moscow Mule cocktail on March 4th, 2022.
Jeez.
Okay, there she is. The 35-year-old mom of 3 who penned a children's book about her kids' grief after the murder of their father. So she tries to get rich off of being a victim when she's the one that killed him. And she probably thinks, well, I mean, they'll never suspect. What kind of crazy person would kill their husband and then write a book about how to get over the grief? Like, it's my alibi.
I'm sorry, I don't say this. I don't think I've ever said this on the air, but there's a special place in hell for people like this.
And I think to myself, like, you know,
hopefully she repents and has
I agree.
The justice system does something, but wow, like I said,
there is a stereotype,
a certain level of crazy.
There's a stereotype out there about modern day women, and she fits it perfectly. Where they're never guilty and they never have to take responsibility for their actions. And they always justify. This is a stereotype that's out there about modern women, and it's out there for a reason. It's out there because it gets reinforced every single day. Hello, she's 35 years old, mom of 3. She penned the children's book after she killed her husband to talk about grief. It says she also had a home flipping business, and it says she tried to kill him more than once. Apparently. She was also convicted of trying to kill him by putting fentanyl in his sandwich. Not just the Moscow Mule. She tried. She made him black out. It says,
goodness.
Well, I don't see it now. I don't see the part about the sandwich now. Hang on a second. Maybe I can find it. Because I want to read that part.
Aren't we thankful for good women in our lives? And I know we.
There it is, right there.
Have some online conversations with some good folks in the chat.
Yep.
Great women at home, but man, for guys like that guy, scary.
She was also found guilty of trying to poison him a month earlier on Valentine's Day with a fentanyl-laced sandwich that made him break out in hives and black out. So this guy had a warning sign, just don't really know. He probably never dreamed that his wife was secretly trying to murder him. So be careful out there, guys.
Enjoy the clink, lady.
Be careful out there, guys. I mean, and this also goes out there for men, trying to figure out if they want to marry somebody. I mean, you if there's red flags and you're like, can I really put up with this for the rest of my life? you got to really think about that. You really do. All right, we're about out of time. Eric, I'll give you the last word. Go.
Happy St. Patty's Day to everyone.
There you go,
this was
brother.
such a fun conversation today. It's been a fun last full week. I know we got to sit in the mornings and spend some time together, and it just, as I've said over and over again, just reinforces my point about how important these conversations are, and it's great to be a part of it with a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And interact with a lot of people and talk about these important things.
Folks, that's all the time we got. We're going to pass it off to Secret America Harrell here on LFA TV. And if you guys, please just like, share, subscribe wherever you're watching from, whatever platform. We really appreciate it. Want to give a shout out to Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, 7 Weeks Coffee, and Sherry Chiropractic. God bless. I will see you tomorrow.